Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? We have a fun one. We've been planning this one for a little bit, but it took a while for schedules and everything to match up. But I am very excited for this. We're bringing on Attila today with CrabNebula, and we're talking about the DevTools. So we've definitely done a lot of debugging on this stream before, and there's particular situations where it gets very difficult to debug with the tools that are sort of like built into the web view or built into your ID. So this is in a place where we can attach it and kind of go over and above the existing tools that kind of come out of the box with the OS. And they've recently released a premium version, which has some additional features over the free version. So there's a free version, and we'll get talking about that. But until then, or up to that point, we're going to bring in Attila. There we go. Hey.
Hey,
Good to see you.
good to see you
For
too.
any, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. For anybody not aware of who you are and what you do you give yourself a quick introduction?
Yeah, so yeah, my name is Attila. A developer originally from Brazil. Right now I'm living in Germany, and I work at CrabNebula as a developer relations lead. And yeah, I've been doing a bunch of stuff with Tauri in this past year or so. I'm also part of the Solid.js developer experience team, which basically means, yeah, as you may imagine, I'm more of a JavaScript, TypeScript kind of guy. I'm still getting familiar with Rust. I get humbled by the compiler quite a lot, but I'm learning, and yeah. So I do all kinds. I luckily I work with all these amazing Rusticians at CrabNebula, so my learning curve is I'm learning at a quite a fast pace because every time I need, I have a guru to ask and brings on board. So as we were setting up right now, I was just having a chat with Lucas and Amon about helping me set up some stuff on a template we're about to use today. So yeah, last pull request merging 30 seconds before, which is also great, always great, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
presentation
that's
driven
that's
development.
that's about me, I guess. Um,
Nice. Yeah, I definitely feel the. I've said before that I don't know that I could write Rust without the compiler. It's embrace the compiler and let it help you. It's not yelling at you. Um,
yeah.
all right. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to we'll hop in and we'll share Attila's screen, and we're going to go through. They have a couple different like integrations, and we're going to go through how those integrations are set up and how they interact and like what the differences are between them and like use cases between them. So there's like there's a web version and like an actual app, two separate ways you can use it. And then from that differentiation, now there's additional premium features that you've also added. So I flip over to your screen here. Oh, that would not be. There we go.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, so as you were mentioning, the CrabNebula DevTools has three versions actually. Like there is the free version, the paid version, the premium version, but the premium is actually two. There's two ways of using it. So in my head, there's three differences, but yeah. So we have the open source one, and then we have the premium, which is closed source. The open source one is actually present already in the Tauri docs because yeah, it's free to use and it's just like a Tauri plugin that once you connect, it's gonna expose some tracing and some instrumentation basically to a gRPC stream, and then our app can collect it and show it up in a very what I like to believe is a very nice UX. You're gonna be the judge of that. So yeah, so basically in this particular form, our DevTools is um, looks a little bit like this. And as you can see, we have four main tabs. The first one being the console, which takes a like the DevTools takes a lot of inspiration if you have played around with JavaScript before, with a DevTools that you got on the browser. So whenever you can pop up the hood at any time, and you can see the logs, you can see your network tab, you can see all that, and um, we thought that Tauri needed that for the Rust side. Um, so Jonas made my colleague Jonas Krukenberg, which some of you might know from the Tauri Discord, made his original POC. And one of my first tasks when I joined CrabNebula was work on the front end with him for this. So he was working the back end, I was working the front end. Since then, we onboarded a bunch of people on the team, and we actually moved on to other projects, but that's besides the point. So we have the console log, which is basically what the console tab is for the DevTools. So you're allowed to push some logs into it. You're allowed to see a lot of the stuff where it's coming from and so on. We're gonna play around with that. Then you got the calls tab, which looks a lot like the network tab in the browser, but it's not like I like to compare it better to the profile view, because the calls tab is actually inspecting your span waterfalls. So you can actually see for how long certain processes are running, and you can inspect and find essentially profile the performance of your app.
Okay.
Lastly, you got the sources tab. You want to say something?
Nope. No. Go ahead.
So lastly, also we got the sources tab, which allows you to track like all the binaries and all the basically all the resources you have on your app, so you can see some images and so on. And the config is basically to help you inspect the config. So basically that's what you got on the web version. And then for to work with the open source one, you don't need to install anything in your own stuff. What you need to do is just open up the web. It's gonna open like it's a web application, single page application, built with Solid.js. So this runs entirely in your browser. And what you need to do in this case is have an Atari app running with our plugin installed. So in this case, I'm actually going straight to our open source repository where we have some examples, and then we can see running.
Okay.
What do you think?
Gonna catch up on chat here a little bit. Brad, I think I
Yeah.
saw a sub coming for Brad. Thanks. Gabe, good to see
Yeah.
you. Crab
How's
Nebula.
it going, Gabe?
Is that
Yeah, Crab.
uh let's hope I pronounce your name correctly. Elafaria? Did I
Yeah,
get that right?
Eleftheria is probably
Eleftheria.
having a look at us. Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
she's there to help me. And um,
Nice.
so
I've been watching your videos. It's interesting to hear everybody's perspectives.
yeah,
Um
she's really good at that.
yeah. So the real quick question, the call stacks and the tracing that we get, is that purely in the Rust side of things, or is that also like, do we have commingling with like events and logs from the front end, or is it just the Rust side of things?
No, no. The logs you see in the DevTools log are straight from the Rust side.
Okay.
So
So if we would want any
they,
logs from the front end, we would need to pipe that
I
into
mean,
the like back end basically, or you need to have some functionality to like pipe that to the Rust side of things.
well, yeah, you can send your logs to the Rust side, and then you'll be able to see them here.
Mm-hmm.
But because the web view has your own DevTools with its own console, we didn't feel the need yet to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the tracings that we're using and for the DevTools, they're already collecting so much data. We actually have we are able to, like, we are actually filtering out so we can actually give you stuff that you can use,
Okay,
because if you just toss everything on the screen, it's just gonna pollute and
it's too
create a
much.
lot of, yeah.
Okay, okay.
um, so the basic setup that you need to do, in this case, is, for your app to work, is you need to have the you need to initialize the DevTools plugin, and then you just need to add it to your
Mm-hmm.
Tauri builder. In
Okay.
this case, because this is our example app, we are not doing the checks to make
Mm-hmm.
sure you're not adding them in production. But we can get to that in a moment.
Yeah, we've actually
But
we've touched on that a few times on this stream, where you can use the like configuration um,
yeah,
syntax to I forgot the word to like dynamically, depending on the build target and build
yeah.
context, include pieces of Rust or not. Um,
So
Gabe says the Tauri
yeah,
plugin log sends the front end logs to Rust ready. Yeah, that's what I was actually wondering about. And we'll drop some links later. But if you're not in the CrabNebula Discord and you are interested in these things, they have a Discord as well, and they've been talking about supporting Tauri plugin log more directly with DevTools. I've been peeping that conversation. So
yeah. So where was I? Yeah. So basically, then with this, yeah. So what the recommended way we go with this is, actually we use the debug assertions to make sure you're in a developer build,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, and that's basically it. For it gets a little bit trickier if you have others, and I know it can conflict with other loggers. I don't know if it conflicts with a Tauri plugin log. Specifically, I would need to ask Fabian Lars about that. He's our bugs guru. He knows about every bug everybody has hit on. But essentially, in this case, what we usually recommend, if you have other tracing logs, is you add the CrabNebula DevTools, the Tauri plugin DevTools in our developer builds, and in production you add your other tracing logs.
Okay.
Um, so what we do from here is, basically, you can go to my example, and in this case I'm using Tauri, which is the V2, and I can start my Tauri um, my Tauri app. It's gonna be should be fast enough because I just ran it. Um, yeah. So what happens is, once you have your app running, the DevTools plugin is gonna expose to you. It's gonna expose to you the your gRPC, through the localhost. It's gonna expose a gRPC stream, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the one you actually can connect. So by default, it's gonna be your localhost on port 3000, and then you wouldn't need to do anything else. And with that, you would have it already logging. Um, so now I can just take this one out and keep only my DevTools over here. And as you can see, as I just mentioned, move my window, I get the logs for the window move. I can add lots of other attributes to it. So as I mentioned, there is a lot of stuff that you can check.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can copy what are the log lines and so on. And in this case, you can even fire, for example, a Flecky request, and then you have some special kinds of events you can filter out or in. And if I click, I can jump into the part of my codes. What did I do now? I think I click on the wrong part. But yeah, so where's my Flecky request is over here. I can see the payload of this response, and I can check all the details in here. So basically, every time I do something, I can see them
Mm-hmm.
running,
Okay.
and you can inspect as they are going. So you can
Can
see
move
the
out of the way a little
URL
bit.
it's hitting. What?
My head's in the way. I gotta move out of the way a
My
little bit.
head?
No, my head
Ah,
is.
sorry, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. I think no, it's yeah. So basically, it's so you can see where it is and so on. And where do I? You can remove the scale. You can filter on only on errors in this
So
case.
so the waterfall is like a like network request kind of waterfall. Not
It's
not in
not.
the not like exactly like the browser because the browser is like loading, right? It's more about like loading assets. This is more about time between calls.
Yeah. So what happens is that every time you open a process in Rust, you're gonna have like um, the tracing is gonna set up all the different spans. So you have the open, you
Hmm.
have the closing span and the end span. So that's what we're gonna trace. So it's not necessarily network related.
Yeah.
It can be any process that happens in Rust. In this case, for our testing, we use a network request. That's why the payload is HTML. So we are actually, I think it's a request to, it's just a get request to the website, to the
Okay.
Rustlang website, something like that. Yeah. So it's a just a get request to rustlang.org.
Okay.
But that's and we just made it flaky so we can trace like different times and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Makes sense.
But besides that, you can also log if you're navigating and going back and so on. So, wait, Gabe has a few comments and questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was an issue with the Tauri plugin log. I think
Yeah.
Lucas actually was. I want to say he opened up a PR to improve that situation. So
Yeah.
if you haven't looked into
So,
that in the past, what, like week or something, you might want to look back into that case. And then he says, if I instrument my functions, will it show there automatically?
yeah, so they should. They should show automatically. If they don't, please let me know. But yeah, they should. And about it conflicting, it just conflicts with pretty much every logger that you have, specifically because um, we don't share the instance of the logger in this case, and because of some other issues that I'm not capable enough to explain. So I'll just dodge making a fool of myself. But you're free to ask a little bit further, either on the Tauri CrabNebula channel, on the CrabNebula channel in the Tauri Discord, or in our own CrabNebula Discord. Um, but it is something we intend to fix. At this point, the debug assertions should be enough for you to execute them only in development, because chances are you don't want the dev tools in production. And I tend to believe that the dev tools will be enough for you in development, but correct me if I'm wrong. And if you have a special use case, let me know. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, and I think we're well once we jump in and start poking around with later a little bit later in the stream, we're gonna pull down one of Attila's um, templates and we'll give that a shot. And I think we're gonna end up poking around the tracing a bit more.
Yeah.
It's and I've said this on past streams too, where if you squint, it kind of looks like you have a front end and back end, and that works for most metaphors. But the closer you inspect it, the less that actually applies. Because like what if you're doing tracing in a web app, you want to know you're that's something that you like push to production, and you can trace from the like request all the way through the back end and all the way back to the front end. And the front end and back end would both be like sending these logs up to Sentry or some other service. I kind of feel like it's like different use cases here, because it's not like a true trace. Like you're not the network request thing is less what you're inspecting here. Um, so I think that's probably something we'll talk through a little bit
Yeah.
further.
So that's what I was trying to say when I said it. You should. I don't think the right comparison would be this to the network tab, but to the
Yep.
profiler tab,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
because this is more for profiling the performance. Ideally, I believe you'd be more spending more time in this UI trying to find what are the bottlenecks in your app, or if you have a lingering process, or if any kind of processing is flaky or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and not particularly on the network requests, I'd say.
Yeah. And that feels like one of those things that you wouldn't want to ship to production because it's uh, the more you observe, the more you can affect the performance,
Yeah.
and that's not
So
something you can really like. If you ship it, it's not really something you can like pull back out. So it's just slowing down the user's experience effectively,
yeah.
right?
So for example, let me see where is. So we have that profile release that is even recommended in the that release profile that's we recommend even in the Tauri docs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like this. So this profile release, it kind of like, as far as I understand, it works like that for basically all apps, or most of the apps, or 90% of the apps or so. But depending on which kind of app you have, you might want to, instead of the opt level, use S, you might want to use Z or something like that. Is that right?
I always have to look that up. The
Yeah.
and I guess that's a whole nother point because like if you're optimizing your binary, you can optimize it for size. It's basically in some ways I think of it like a different compression algorithms. So you can use
Yeah.
like PNG or JPEG or et cetera, and they all have um, there's upsides and downsides to each, and depending on your needs, you can kind of like switch between them. But
Exactly.
if
So
you're
if you
optimizing
do that,
like if you're optimizing
but
a binary, you probably don't want to ship DevTools. Like if you're doing this to make your binary super small, you don't really want to ship DevTools.
but how do you measure which one is the best one for you?
Like which profile you use.
Like, if you want to tweak the configuration app, wouldn't it be a situation where you could turn your own on development and see how it impacts your app's performance, and use the span waterfalls in this case or something like that?
Mm, like the different profiles and how that affects.
That's what, because because from I remember when I first got a look at this. I'm coming from a JavaScript world. I was like, okay, so that's all like S or Z, or that doesn't mean much to me.
Uh-huh.
But if I could have a way to actually see that in my own app, supposedly I have a real production app, and I could measure that. DevTools would technically allow me to do that without much effort. That's
The
what I'm
I
getting at.
think this is more. I'm sure I'm naive in this assumption, but I don't think that that's going to have too much as far as direct performance impact. Um,
Mm,
there is going to be, I mean, in some ways there is potentially because depending on, uh, the more you compress something, the more you have to decompress it when you run it. Sort of like those considerations. But something like that, the panic abort, that's more of the
yeah.
maybe a good metaphor would be for the folks in JavaScript world would be if I'm shipping a website and I'm shipping a whole browser and I am making a to-do app. I don't actually need WebRTC. Doing something like this, stripping out debug symbols or stripping out the failure logic. That's basically saying like, I don't actually need this. I've handled these cases in a way where I think it's gonna be fine. Like, just
Yeah,
don't ship this portion of the binary.
I think all this top four would
Yep.
not change anything in your runtime execution or something like that. But I had a hunch that the opt level could impact.
I
That's what I understood.
I think you're right in that, and I think it's the idea of the more you compress, the more you have to deal with
Yeah,
decompression once you're actually running it.
yeah,
But I haven't actually played around. I haven't played around with that enough to know exactly the differences between them all offhand.
yeah. So that's what to me. I'm happy that I'm not the only one that gets gets overwhelmed by this because to me like I'm not entirely sure about this one specifically. The other ones are a little bit more a little bit easier to visualize in
Mm-hmm.
this case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the opt level, I'm not in sure. But anyways, I digress.
It's
uh,
it's kind of like gzip or but there's shoot now I can't remember like Brotli or gzip, like what the difference between those, and depending on um it's basically like different ways to compress it, and depending on what your system has been optimized for, one can be better than the other. And at some point, like you're either it's you're working with like a bunch of sliders. So the more you optimize it, the smaller the binary will be. So you're shipping more, or you're shipping less over the wire when you download it. But then the more work the computer has to do to actually run the thing.
mhm.
So it's a balance. I think that one that you have there is the pretty safe one.
Yeah, it should be. It, I mean, I closed my app by accident. Sorry.
So the
So my app's rebuilding. That's why
got it. Okay.
it just went haywire.
So what we're looking at right now is the web app. Is there there's
Yeah,
a like an actual Tauri app version of this too, right?
there is, and so yeah. So let's see the actual yeah. So the last tab because we were talking about the front end developers. The other part that I wanted to show, and I think that's particularly helpful for people that are starting with Tauri, is that we can actually show you um, all your Tauri config and give you like hints and insights based on on the schema. So with that, you can actually see all the available options that you have and what is the default, and we flag it to you if you have changed that from the default. So we see the actual values and if you change it from the default or not. And basically, every time you hover on it, you have a tooltip describing what is it intended for. And right here, you can see your actual file that's being evaluated in this
Okay.
case.
And this is on both the web and the desktop app, right?
Yeah, this I'm showing you the web right now, so you know you
Okay.
have access to basically everything. So this is the sources tab, where you can see every single thing. You can even see your icons or favicons or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you can even see what is your the generated schemas and everything else. So you can see everything that you're shipping. You can see your actual code and so on.
Zenko
Uh,
has a good question. Are these values editable inside the input? Is this more of a display
um,
thing, or is this more of a
Unfortunately, right now is read only.
okay?
This is kind of a dream of ours to have it. It's a little bit tricky if you are updating the file of the app you are inspecting, because with Tauri, every time you change the configuration values or the Rust values, the app gets stored down and then back up. So that means that you lose the state you're actually debugging. So it's a little bit tricky for us to allow you to change the configs here, because that's gonna cause like a big refresh in the app right now. So it's a tricky logic to get right and fine tune it, because in one hand, you want to be told if the instrumentation servers go down, you want to be told immediately. But if the instrumentation servers go down because your app is rebuilding, you don't want to be notified. You just
Mm-hmm.
want the app to wait. So it's a little bit tricky for us. But it is something we want to do. We also, like, another thing we want to do is be able to offer you like insights in this case. So for example, if you're here on your app, we want to be able, like, one obvious one for me is when you're uh, checking your security part. I think right now it's in bundle, right? So you have the CSP flag. So like here in security, we can let you know, for example, oh, here's a recommendation setting, because by default, Tauri needs to be inclusive in a way that it can execute, it can allow you to test and execute and do things like that. But whenever you're in the DevTools, we can recommend you more strict settings, for example. So we can say, yeah, it's a bad idea to ship your app to production if your CSP is null, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So we
Okay.
can give you some insights in this case, or say if a CSP is invalid, so on.
Okay.
Um,
Is there is there anything else that you wanted to show in the browser version? Otherwise, I think Gabe is
no,
turned to
I can go on to the other one thing that I'm
because I
just
think
checking. Gave
yeah. Are you reading?
I
Uh,
was
uh,
reading. I was trying to read Gabe questions. Yeah. So
so there's the web app and there's the desktop app, and in both cases, from your app, you're sending logs to these services, or
correct.
these apps. The So if you're using the web, so I guess the first question is if you're using the web app, when you integrate it and you're sending logs to the web app, what is like, is it all just a client side app, or how is that all handled?
Can you repeat the question? I
So
didn't get.
I think there's anytime you're sending logs or anything to a separate service, there's like security considerations. So especially if you're
Mm-hmm.
working in enterprise, can I use this thing even because I'm sending logs outside of the thing that we're working on? So if you're
No,
sending logs to the web app, like what's the security profile for that? How are they?
the logs you're sending, they live only in the front end of the app, and they're connected straight to your local host. So
Mm-hmm.
CrabNebula has no way of having anything, knowing anything about whatever you're sending, or like anything like that. We don't have any information about um, what kind of events you're sending through the app.
Mm-hmm.
Either if it's the DevTools, the Tauri app, or the web app, we don't get to it. It doesn't go through our backend. So it's the single page application, which lives entirely in your browser, connecting to WebSocket stream or gRPC stream in your local host. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
get access to any of the logs.
So the website version is a little bit of a convenience because you don't have to download an extra package. Like that would be the main use case for it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, so yeah, so you what you can do actually is even clone um, the repository on GitHub and run it entirely locally. It doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest.
So the thing that's served at that uh, web URL and the app, those are both open source, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can if I mean and
So you can go to it's I can put on the chat. It's github.com crabnebula.dev/devtools. So that's open source. PRs
Google.
are even welcome, and the changes you make actually to that to the web client are gonna land almost automatically to the premium version, because what we do is actually we have a multi-build system. So our build, like the the desktop app, which is this one. This is not actually the desktop app. This is the example app again,
Mm-hmm.
but with the premium version. And what our standalone versions, our standalone version and our plugin version, both of them use the same UI as the web one. It just have a few more features on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So what we do is essentially we sync everything we do to to the web version. We sync it to the premium. So if you do a bug fix, if you do a typo fix, something like that, your fix is gonna land into the code you're using.
Okay.
Um,
Is that a good place
awesome.
to jump
So
into the uh the desktop app version and the with the premium
yep,
things?
already here. So this one actually has DevTools running below it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna save that one uh, for a minute now, I think, because what I want to show you first is the standalone version, right? So I want to show you the client, not the drawer version. Client desktop. Um, oh yeah. So I need to first close this one so I can start this other one. So so as you can see, this is the exact same app that
Mm-hmm.
we used to have. So this is basically the interface that we had on the web, but now it's available as a Tauri app, and because of that, you basically have offline support and this kind of stuff. You don't need to be online to load it and so on. And it is waiting for an app to be able to connect. So let's get one app started. Mm, yeah. So now we have my example app again, and I can connect to it. And oh yeah, it cannot expose this port because it took out my WebSocket port. I need to change some of the ports over here, I guess. Wait, should which port is it going to? Let me see. Ah, it's 303. Um, nope. Uh,
Demos, am I right?
yeah, it's always like that, right? Oh, okay. I took out of the screen and it worked. So yeah, so what happened is because I have like multiple instances of the app running, it just changed the ports and I got confused.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not this is just my development environment. If you had it running somewhere else, it would just connect just the same, and they are both like standalone, and it's yeah. So as you can see, you have everything working as you would expect,
Mm-hmm.
just like before. You have all the sources, you have the config as well. Um, it's optimizing some stuff still. Yeah. So everything is working just the same, and this is a standalone Tauri app.
Okay. And this app that you're running right now, that's one of the examples in
This
the
one is an
DevTools.
example app, like could be any other thing.
Yeah,
Could
but
be
like
any
that
other
that
app.
actual app's in the DevTools repo, right? If somebody wanted
Yeah,
to play
this
around with
app
that one.
exists in the dev. Yeah, It's exactly the same one. So, but it could be any other one because this one you can just connect whatever you want.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you have this app, you just add the Tauri plugin DevTools, and then it's going to expose to a certain port. You need to not do what I did and put the right port over here, and then it's going to connect.
Okay.
And then you can debug any app. That's the one advantage of this case on top of the other one that I'm going to show you now. So we have another way of using the Tauri plugin because, as most of you know, we can do more than one web view. So if I do, not I is the wrong DevTools. If I do, in my case, Command Alt or Option M, I can open the DevTools as a drawer, just like
That's
you do
tricky.
with the, just like you do with the Chrome DevTools, for example.
Neat.
And you have all everything you need and so on. And if by any chance you get a little bit squished in here, you can detach it, and it has the same stuff, the same functionality as it would in the standalone version. The only difference in this case is that it's automatically connected to this particular app that you're debugging. So in this case, you don't need to add any port. It's already know by default. As you can see, you cannot even disconnect. It's going to be connected for as long as your app's running.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do whatever you want to do, you can resize and so on. It's a regular Tauri web view. You can just put it back.
Is that the
So
setup for that different than the so I see two like apps basically right now, right? The nested one within your demo, the separate
yeah,
one. Is
yeah.
this is the setup for this versus the internal one, the docked one versus the separate one different, or is the setup pretty much the same?
The setup, you mean
Like
if you're
to
integrating that to,
yeah, to integrate it within your app. Yeah.
so yeah, it is slightly different, but
Okay.
yeah, not so much. And but yeah, it connects to the same backend, to the same Rust part
Mm-hmm.
as your app, so it's a tiny bit. But yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and that's basically like a big rundown of what the CrabNebula DevTools is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at this point, um, everything that I said should exist in our docs. Let me show you where they are.
I think if I think Google's grabbing your URLs. So if you share anything, send it to me on Discord.
Uh, Discord
Yeah, the URL you shared earlier to YouTube didn't show up.
didn't.
No, I ended up resending it. It Google's got like an auto
Oh,
mod
okay.
thing going on, and I have no indication that like URLs are modded, but they just never appear.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Oh, I'm so, yeah. I was distracted and I wrote crabnebula.com instead of .dev. So yeah, so it should exist in our docs. Okay. So the Gabe's asking about the pricing. So the CrabNebula Dev Tools for now it comes on so yeah. If you are in the CrabNebula cloud, you get DevTools for immediately. So it's
the
five
premium
euros
immediately.
or dollars. Yeah, you get premium immediately. So you have a seat. If you need more seats, uh, right now you have. I think you have unlimited seats right now, but it's why because we want you to test it. We want you to use it. And yeah, so it's right here. So that's not the flat rate. The flat rate can be go all the way down to no goes. So you have the 14-day trial, and it should be the base is 750 euros a month. And then there's some VA depends on the VAT and so on. And with that, you get the cloud that we're gonna talk about in the next stream. So I don't wanna take everything all your time, but you get the cloud, which allows you to have the auto updater set up and the distribution set up, and then you also get the DevTools Premium um, with the seat. And as I was saying, everything that I have here, everything that I have said today should be in our docs. If it's not, please call me out on it on Discord or Twitter or wherever you find me, because it's my responsibility that it is. And if anything's confusing as well, um, but should be here. Like as I mentioned, we also added the tricky part about setting like different loggers and so on. So yeah, the Tauri plugin log, you have a different ways of doing it. And what we do is basically the debug assertions. And our recommended setup is to only initialize the dev tools when you're in dev mode.
Makes
So
sense.
everything is should be here.
So the
Any other?
again, to be clear, next week, plug for next week, we're gonna have Attila on it again, and
Yeah.
we're doing the cloud stuff. So the the dev tools right now, all the there's like the free version, and that is open source, and you can use it in either the app or the stock mode or on the website. Um, and then the premium version is just coupled with the cloud. It's just like an additional thing that you get when you sign up for cloud. At the
Yeah.
moment, do you know if there's any
So
plans to like allow it as a separate thing you can purchase, or is it just coupled at the moment?
at the moment it is coupled. If I don't know, like I don't think there is like any direct plans right now in the roadmap, but if it is something people want, Jackie and I have our ears up, so you can just let us know, and we'll make sure to take that into consideration. Jackie, I mean, is the director of product, so she is on Discord as, and she's one of those people that don't use her name as the handler. So I need to check who
I,
she
I
is
I
on
made it all
Discord.
easy, if only for me. Same. I say that,
Yeah,
but actually, my GitHub is slightly different. But you know, legacy stuff.
yeah, I think she's Jack Lee, something because her last name is Lee.
Hmm.
So yeah,
But yeah, so
I
I
can.
mean, if you're just interested in premium, you could theoretically get a cloud. Uh, like you could pay for
Yeah,
cloud, and it would be I don't know what the
yeah,
conversion is, but €7.5 a month.
yeah, and then you get the cloud premium, and but you also get the first 2 weeks for free. So the first 2 weeks are on first 14 days are on us, and we do believe that that would be the necessary time for you to want to deploy your app at least once. So then you get like the releases, you get the auto updater as you're done. So ideally, the DevTools is gonna help you get your development build ready, and then at some point you're gonna need to push it out there. So we do believe that they are two different parts of the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, that was the plan.
So what is the
Um,
oh, do you have anything else to go with this? I'm
so I was
curious what the
just
premium goes into.
so I was just gonna tell you about. So if you want to use the free version, first you what you need is if you have a Tauri 2 app, you just need to add this part of this four lines over here, and of course add the crate. If you have a Vue 1 version, it's not that different, but it's a different crate. Um, and then the premium for the embedded mode only supports for V2, and then you need these two different for the I'm sorry, for the drawer mode, the embedded mode, you need this second crate. That's why I
Hmm,
mentioned it's a little bit different. So you need to add two plugins,
got it. Okay.
um, and then everything should work all the same. So if you have only one of these plugins, then you only do the standalone mode or the web version. If you have the secondary plugin, you can have embedded mode.
Okay. So the embedded mode is that's part of that premium.
Yes. So the
Okay.
embedded mode. So these two versions over here, they are part of the premium. So which is the two that stand alone as a Tauri app. So this is actually a secondary Tauri app inside your Tauri app,
Mm-hmm.
and this other one is a standalone Tauri app, and both of them are part of the premium version.
Got it. So if you want to use the free version, you're going to be using that web URL for debugging.
You need a browser, yeah,
Got it. Okay. Okay. That's a pretty clear separation. If I want to use the
yeah,
web app
yeah.
or the embedded, that's the premium.
Exactly. So with that, because there right now it's a slight difference, but what we want to do, there's a lot of features that we want to have that would require us to be in Atari app.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why in the future the gap's gonna be larger
Yeah.
between them.
Okay.
We have a few interesting features lined up, like collaboration features and some other like integrations to cloud and so on,
Okay.
which would require it to be an Atari app.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Josh, so thanks for stopping by.
Hi, Josh.
All right. So is there um is there anything else that we wanted to go over as far as architecture setup? Otherwise, I think we could probably jump over to using using the template. Eh? Joe, good to see you.
Sure. So while we switch for the driving seats,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'd love to ask you or anybody in the chat if there's anything in your head right now that you would like to see in this, or how would you use this app and so on. I know that Gabe has already used it. I know Gabe already mentioned hit a little bit of a hurdle with the different login plugins, but what else do you have for me? Like what would you want to see in this case? Um, like, is there anything like I know Zenko already mentioned about editing values. So all of these I have written down already. It's also already part of our roadmap. In a way, we are prioritizing those issues.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that pops up in your head about it?
I think at least for me personally, and it kind of comes back to Zinko's question, is I can see in some ways where the config and the source are useful because it's a GUI over something that is like it makes interacting with and understanding the like schemas a little bit more inclusive. You don't have to have an IDE set up to give you helpers and like you can make the options and how it looks nicer and more understandable. Um, so I can definitely see the use cases there, but I think the the calls and the console logs, that's the piece that I'm really interested in. Like if me personally, if I would opt to use this, like that would be the reason. You know, the like
Got it.
config and the other pieces of it for me are um, sort of just icing on top of the cake.
Got it.
Have you,
So,
Gabe? Have you used it in Have you used it in one of your apps? Definitely curious to see how see how you found value. Have well, I've put you on the spot. I can start pulling up other stuff. um, should we open up your template? I think we want to give that a shot, right?
oh, so Gabe just started using it today.
Nice.
Let me see if I can merge the pull request before you clone my template.
Nice.
So Brendan, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry.
Oh,
I
this is
just
like
merged.
the full bump to V2, eh?
So I bumped from the latest beta to the RC.
Oh, okay.
And then Brendan, I'm talking about Brendonovich
Mm-hmm.
from Tauri Specta. Um, he did a bunch of work there as well in this template. We're both together in the SolidDX team. So he and I use Specta on that template. So yeah, he did a bunch of work. So today I decided to update from the Tauri 2 beta to the RC for this stream, and then I made some changes, and then Brandon said, how about you don't add you add support for the event emitters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then I got into some meetings, and as you know, he lives the other side of the world, so I guess he went to bed.
Western Australia.
So yeah, so I just merge it now. So he's gonna wake up, and hopefully nothing's gonna be broken. Um, anyways, I'm gonna tell him it's your fault if he gets angry at me.
the
I'm
yeah, the
just joking.
classic presentation driven development, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the create template thing and
So yeah, so you
call it
can.
quantum DevTools. Sure. Chowbass is the DevTool Tauri app in itself. So give it a bit of rewind if you're interested in the deeper answer to it. But yes, but there's also a web app. The web app is the premium portion of it. But they also have both an embedded and desktop app that are separate that are going to be further developed. But that's the main differentiation between premium versus the open source piece.
Yeah,
Did I hit that right? Did
yeah,
I?
absolutely. Better than I would do it myself.
All right. So go ahead and do a. See if I remember this syntax. GitHub clone.
You can also use the Git if you want, which is slightly faster than the clone if you want to do that.
Sure. I feel like I
Um,
always want to use the GitHub CLI and then I forget the commands to actually use it.
okay.
Um,
It's GH clone.
that's what I did. Maybe I did the syntax afterwards wrong. The place where I definitely use it the most is with pull request reviews. It's got some fancy stuff to deal with forks, which is super nice. Okay, so we got the quantum dev tools repo open. Yes, yes, thank you. VS Code.
Yeah, so that's the first thing that happens. Like that sets this template apart from the default Tauri ones is that I also added a few extra extensions.
Mm-hmm.
to the VS Code recommendations. So you
Mm-hmm.
get the Tauri one and the Rustlang one, which I think are part of the default templates. But then I also added the Tailwind one because this template uses Tailwind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's the first thing that's different. The second one is that this template uses Tauri Specta and it comes already set up.
Okay.
Um, Cargo Tomo, you're gonna see that it comes up with a release profile as well, um, and comes with the auto updater already set up and with the DevTools already set up.
Okay. So we look at the config.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's kind of a batteries included, which also means that by default, and that's why I need to add a CLI to it, by default, the build is broken
mm,
because the Tauri compiler cannot serialize the key on the auto updater.
got it. Okay.
The plugins are empty. So then if you go to the librs, it's going to, I think, is it commented? Can you see if the updater is commented out in the
Right here.
plugins?
Looks like
Yeah.
it is.
So it is not broken at this point, but I need to add the updater setup back. Anyways,
Okay.
and then it's gonna be broken by default because you need to have a serializable pub key for the auto updater.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it comes set up out of the box for you in this case.
Okay.
And um, yeah, and it like when I started this template, the it was still like I think Tauri V2 was still alpha, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't clear what the direction the working group would go between if you're gonna stick with the main RS and only use the librs for desktop or not. I just
Mm-hmm.
went full on librs and I don't make any differentiation because to me it's easier if you set up an architecture. Then even if you don't need mobile, you can just set up with librs, and then if any point down the road you want to switch, it's easier.
Yep. Yeah, that
um,
makes sense. I think that's kind of been the default that we've been going with now too. Is the
yeah, so
librs
I
everywhere, and it's just use that, and
yeah.
it
So
never
I asked,
resets.
I was talking to a few of the guys at CrabNebula about that, and I think Fabian Larsen Amir told me, look, we're actually planning to move our recommendation to always use the librs because it just saves you some work down the road.
Yep.
So I went with that by default, and yeah, like hope we kind of agree on a lot of stuff. That's why maybe that's why I gravitate towards Tauri so much. Yeah, so basically out of that there is a lot of setup that I have there for people to have basically some guarding rails when they're using it,
Mm-hmm.
because as I mentioned, I come from a JavaScript background, and what I did, like I started to learn Tauri. I said, okay, I'm gonna create a Tauri app, and I started working on this app straight away, and took me a little while to get familiar with the structure, with Rust, and so on. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized, okay, so I'm gonna be doing that very often,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm not gonna go through all everything again, and I'm not gonna remember the first few times. So I abstracted it away into a template, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how this thing was born. And since then, I've been learning best practices and incorporating there. And I've been lucky enough that some people that are way cleverer than me found something useful there and start contributing. Namely, Brandon. Mostly, like he did a bunch of work there. It it is very reassuring when you want to use a crate and the maintainer of the crate says, "Oh, I can add it for you." Uh,
Right.
okay, cool. So I literally gave him the keys of the house, so he's a contributor with me, a maintainer with me, and yeah,
Okay.
that's how it goes.
Neat. Yeah. The I remember back when I was first getting the create Tauri app and um, going, and like it's as a functional piece, it works really well to get somebody started. But we, especially with the plugin architecture now, there's so many different like paths you can go down and integrations that you can fit in, that having that base is nice. But it used to mostly prevent you from having to do a lot of the wiring because there wasn't as much wiring to do. But now with all the plugins, there's just no way that we could make that experience nicer than what it is really. So
Well,
I
you
think
you
having
do
these
have an
templates is
awesome experience to add the plugins with the Tauri add plugin
that's
name
true. Yeah,
thing, um,
that does
which
help
is
a lot.
it is really awesome. I use that all the time, and I actually used it. I used this template already in a 3-hour workshop at a JavaScript conference, and basically we just started adding templates like that, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think we had about 12. Yeah, we had 12 people there. All of them were JavaScript developers, and I think 2 or 3 had some experience with Rust, but they didn't call themselves Rust developers. And everybody was able to follow.
Yeah.
Um, like there was very little. There was just the only quirks we got were actually related to system quirks, like Windows or
Mm-hmm.
like, like I was demoing something on a Mac, and somebody was using Windows. I was using PNPM. Somebody was using NPM.
Yeah.
Those were the issues we got,
Yeah.
because the commands I would put there was not the commands they needed. But yeah.
Yeah. It's I think um so what we've been doing on stream for the past few months, a like a small starting template for basically like a system tray app. Um, and that sort of, I feel like it's sort of operating in the same space where I don't know how we could reasonably fit that into like Creatory app, but having a piece like that is useful because I want to enable people to make more cool system tray apps. um, but to add the like 4, 5, 6, 8 plugins is not insignificant effort. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what y'all have wired up here. I haven't actually used Tauri Spectre yet, so I'm excited for that.
So you wanna run down? I love shouting the praises of Tauri Spectre.
Yeah, let's do a rundown of that quick. I haven't dug into it enough to do it myself.
Okay.
So where should we
How
start?
can I? Let me see. How can I make your screen bigger for me? Awesome. I think. Here. There you go. Um, I'm just trying to make sure. Unfortunately, I cannot bump um, the image quality that I receive on this app.
Uh,
It's a little bit blurry for me. But anyways, so what
Here.
happens with the Tauri Spectre is it's gonna collect your commands. So if you see on line 21, you have the Spectre builder there.
Does that help?
Uh, didn't change. Yeah, so I can see some stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
No, but it's good enough. I can read.
Okay.
So if you look at line 21, you have something. You have a variable called Spectre builder.
Mm-hmm.
So what this one is gonna do is it's gonna collect all your commands
Okay.
on the line 22. So you can pass an array of commands over there, and those are the commands that it's gonna inspect essentially all your Rust types to create the TypeScript version of them.
Mm. So it's like it's
And
creating like a TypeScript client for you almost.
basically, yes, yes.
Okay.
So it's gonna make your invocations type safe.
Got it. Got it.
So it creates bindings for you. And then on the line below, 23, I think, we are also collecting some events. So as you can see, there's a demo event that I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating. Yeah. So once that is done, if you scroll down a little bit, um, yeah, on that wait, stop on line 33,
Okay.
31 actually, we get to the like, if you are in developer mode, we are gonna create your TypeScript file.
Got it.
So I'm formatting it with prettier, so it's like human readable, and I'm adding that ESLint disable. And Josh is in the chat. Sorry, Josh, it's generated file. I know you forgive me for the. He's the maintainer of TSLint. Um,
Oops. I,
um, so yeah,
there we
then we add the we maintain. What did I say?
go.
I said
Maintainer of ESLint, I think you said,
no, no.
or TSLint.
TypeScript, yeah, TypeScript. Yeah, TypeScript. Yes, lint. Sorry, Josh is getting mad at me. Um, that's what I live for anyway. So yeah, so once I do that, I add the header, and then you can pass a path. Um, and I'm writing Rust, Josh. Of course, I have a plague of red squiggle. Um, and then you pass a path where you want to, where basically you want to put your generated file.
And that's what I have open up
Uh,
below here.
yeah, that's what you have opened.
So you can see
And
a
then
whole bunch of
once
TypeScript
that,
types.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So that allows you to have everything type safe. And so that you export. And then if you go down to your builder, like that's basically where your Tauri app is gonna get built. We have the invoke handler, and we're just passing the invoke handlers from the Spectre builder.
Got it. Okay.
So it hooks up to your invocation handler and puts a bunch of types for you on development mode,
So
and
then
gets out of the way when you're in production.
rather than needing to do, um, I think we have it there. There's a, like you, when you make commands in Tauri, you use this, I can never remember what these
Yeah,
are called. Um, and
the
you, I'm glad it's not just me.
the language, the term went away. It's not a trait. It's a whoa. Okay.
That thing
Yes.
defines a command. Um, chat, chat. I'm gonna love all the responses. I can those Rust terms. I don't know why I can never keep those in my brain. Um, anyways, you define the command, and then you end up having to in your Tauri builder, uh, basically tie it into it. So then, rather than you having to for every command you write manually doing that, um, do you only need to pass it once, right? Because
Yeah.
based off of the specta here that you have on that command, it's aware of it and it will then wire it up through this invoke handler.
Excellent. Yes.
Neat.
Exactly.
Okay.
Um, and then you also have in the line 45, you have the setup, which is gonna mount a bunch of events, as many as you need, and then you can set up listeners or you can emit events as well.
Okay. Cool. And
And
so
here's the
so I'll
tricky thing that we were doing before. If you scroll all the way up to the greet command,
mm-hmm.
you're gonna see you have an option to pass the app handler as the first argument of any command,
Got it.
which allows you to emit commands, emit events from any command you have. Which
Got it.
means that right now you can actually have Rust talking to your front end without being prompted to, which to
Got
me
it.
is a game changer. So you
Okay.
can have anything down the logic as long as you're passing the app handler down your Rust logic. You can at any point just emit something to your front end.
Makes sense. Cool. And so part of the reason that I wanted to it was worthwhile to dig into that is this is setting up all of the commands and events, and like this is literally going to be the stuff that we see when we open up the DevTools, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You should be able to see them in DevTools.
Okay.
And then the way the Tauri Spectre works, if can you open inside in your JavaScript side? Can you you're in the right. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
so
a right sidebar person.
yeah, so can you open the routes index TSX?
Okay.
So if you can see, you have like the line two, you have the tilde bindings.
Okay.
So we have the commands and the events as named exports.
Got it.
So line 10 is how you're gonna use your commands in this case. So they're promises you can await, and then you have all your commands namespace like that.
Got it.
So it knows
Nice.
for sure that the value returned by my name accessor is a string because of this.
Okay. Do you know
And then
if you're not somebody that's using TypeScript, can you still use it with just purely JavaScript?
you can use with JSDoc.
Okay. Because like you'll still get like having it generate this is still useful.
Yeah, it doesn't generate the TypeScript. It generates the JSDoc annotations.
Yeah.
So
But
your
like having
ID.
the commands and events namespace is still useful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And then with the JS doc, your IDE can give you hints, like very Rust-like. So it's not gonna prevent your app from running. In our case, because we're using TypeScript and we're on strict mode,
Mm-hmm.
if we break our types, we are gonna have our compiler shouting at us.
Mm-hmm.
But in JS docs, you wouldn't in this case.
Like you would at least get like this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, you get that with JSDoc. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's the story about Tauri Spectre.
Okay.
Um,
Should we run it and hook it up to
sure.
the web app then? Um,
Uh, you need. Yeah. So you need to get the you pnpm. So did you run pnpm install already?
I did. Yeah, while we were talking, I did it in the background.
Can you run pnpm Tauri dev then?
Tauri dev.
What happened?
Ah, Windows.
You're on Windows.
I am streaming on Windows. Yes. Um, which is fine. We can just do a little bit of this and a little bit of this and PNP, Tauri dev. Yeah, I probably have a rather eclectic setup. I stream on. I actually do most of my day job work on a Mac, but I stream on Windows, and this shell is new shell. So I've got a
Hmm. I
it.
wonder how I'm gonna fix that for the Windows. The port thing.
The presuming folks are going to use PNMP, I think I don't use PNMP quite as much, but I think it was either like Node or PNMP was adding support for the environment variable thing.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Otherwise, I think I can just put it in the Vinci config.
yeah, actually that might have it. Because there's I can't remember now. Folks help me out in chat or tell if you know offhand, but there's that tool that you put your environment variables in a file and then it just loads those in when you run the command.
Mm. Okay.
It has left my brain.
The the .env you mean?
Yeah, you can do yeah, it's literally .env, isn't it? This this used to be like the
Yeah.
thing that everybody used,
Mm-hmm.
but it's starting to be integrated like air quotes natively. Um, I want to say like
Ah.
PNMP was adding it or Node was adding it. I know one of the dependencies is adding it, so we don't actually need to use this anymore. But that's probably the easiest. Like, uh, where's there? Yeah. So like when you run it, you run it with the configuration. So it'll end up being something like this. So depending on, I feel like PNMP was adding it, but I could be wrong. Um, Either way, that's probably the way that I would do it for Windows. Okay, so we got our app. Um, it says it's listening.
Yeah, so now if you send an event, if you write something in the input and you send a greet, you're gonna receive a message from the event. So
Got
yeah,
it. Neat.
so the event sends it back. And so the first one, the hello hello chat, is the response from your command, and the hello from Rust is the payload from the event.
Yep. Cool. Neat.
So I'm gonna make this app a little bit better in terms of UI.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and by the way, all that awesome syntax that I just showed about the events, Brendan is just on the chat reminding me to give Oscar a huge shout out because he's the creator and the other maintainer of Tauri Spectre, and he
Mm-hmm.
just went through a huge refactoring for the 2.0 RC. So
Mm, okay.
as you can
Yeah,
see, 5 days ago he was still working on it.
I saw he was doing a whole bunch of work on that. That it's really cool to see. I
Yeah.
I I don't know how I've just like not. I mean, it's always been on my radar. And it seemed neat, but I just haven't gotten around to actually running it and implementing it. And
Well,
now that I see it in action, I just want to add it everywhere.
yeah, so it's really really good, and it's like it's been my secret weapon when I'm like because I'm usually talking to JavaScript developers,
Hmm.
and us JavaScript developers are often scared of Rust,
Hmm.
and Tauri Spectre has been my secret weapon to onboard people on Tauri. Uh, because I basically tell them, look, you can use Tauri to learn Rust, and thanks to Tauri Spectre, you know exactly what's going on in Rustland at any time,
Hmm.
and you can just use TypeScript. You can basically transport your knowledge of TypeScript to Rust. In this case, making sense of the logic that's happening over there. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, there's like you can cover a lot of ground if you want to learn Rust. If you start with Tauri and then Tauri Spectre, you can cover a lot of ground before you hit the Rust wall.
Especially with V2, a lot of the APIs are now also available in JavaScript.
Yeah.
So like that's actually when we implemented our template for the um, where is it, the system tray app template. um, I need to put the link up at the top. I keep coming back to it. We actually ended up doing it both in Rust and in JavaScript. So like the implementation I did as much Rust as possible, including Leptos to do all of the in the web view portion, and then we did it as much JavaScript as possible to sort of show those like two dichotomies, and then it gives folks the option to choose the base they want to start from and like copy from uh, the other implementation, the pieces they want. Um, okay, so if we go to the DevTools, then we should be able to start running this, right?
Should be, yeah.
Uh,
So you should have also a link in your terminal if you look at it. Yeah, there's over there. I can see it on the.
oh, it is.
I'm pointing to my screen. Yeah. So yeah, if you come and click there, you should open straight away. Already connected.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Neat.
There you go. So you have uh, all the initial logs and so on. Um,
Okay.
yeah, if you, yeah, just open one of these files. should be connected. Yeah. Yeah. So everything is there.
Cool. So then the console and the calls. Do we have a move event wired up, or is that coming from like anytime
I
we move
think
this
those
app?
are your previous moves. Yeah.
Yeah, like what we see the moves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
and if I click out of it and click into it, we get the blur events,
Yeah.
blur and focus.
And they should
Shine.
show in the console now that you have it open.
Here, we'll do this so I'm not in the way.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there
Okay.
you have yours. By default, we made the attributes to come um, untoggled. So
Okay.
if you go like you see the timestamps are yeah. So this is
Mm.
one thing I love to get your feedback on if you because um, we felt initially that the attributes um, coming toggled on was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit overwhelming on first sight.
Yeah.
So we decided to toggle them off. But then we got someone asking us for some help on adding information to the logs, and then what happened is that it was not clear that the attributes were turned off, and they were expecting it to be on. Um,
I think that um the places that I've seen as far as like integrations of log viewers, um, you use like GCP, Google Cloud Platform, or Splunk, or any of those systems. I feel like they all, if you click on the line, it expands it. I wonder if that
hmm
might be a way to rely on folks' more natural expectations.
Yeah, that's possible to do. That's a good idea.
So then the difference is the like you've got like a logger, like a full logger thing. It's not just like a single string message, and you're getting all of the context when you turn on attributes.
Mm, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. So these are all coming from Tau, and then there's the actually even the actual place in Tau where it's being run from. Neat. Okay. Do you have the ability to so you can filter by the type of event, right?
Yeah.
Is there differentiation between code I wrote and code that is executing on behalf of me? So like,
Not at the moment, no.
okay, okay.
But that's a nice feature request.
You're just gonna come out of this with a big to-do list.
Yeah.
um, so we'll basically end up seeing a big log list of anything happening basically within your Tauri app, either the code that you wrote or um,
Yeah.
like if we would go, is it logging these message greeting?
I don't think if I wired up to expose any logs on this. Um,
Okay, because that would be listening to the demo event. Is the only log that you're greeted from Rust? Okay, so when we do greet, we're firing off the demo event.
and the demo event logs with that debugger, so you can see on the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, don't. Yeah, I don't know if the event's being logged to our logger.
Okay.
It's something that I was actually testing earlier today.
Okay. So the we're getting redraw events, new events. Okay, that might be something that we could poke at. I guess the other thing that I wanted to jump over to real quick was these the calls and the tracing. So the
Mm-hmm.
um oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, something got hanged.
I give it a refresh. Yeah. So is this going to also show all of the events that are happening, regardless if we've like opted into them or not?
So there is some selection, so it's not every single kind of process that makes it to our span waterfall.
Okay.
Um, Again, just to not get too overwhelming, so we're tracing most the Tauri related events. So not everything that goes through Rust is gonna show up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that yeah, that's basically it. So we recently added a few more, so I'm not entirely sure. Um, because it's a little bit more than just a Tauri related events, but I'm not entirely sure which ones are
Got it.
others.
Okay.
Yeah. Should probably document that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's because you're almost like, I mean, this is in some ways you're basically developing something like Splunk or Sentry. um,
Uh, so yeah, so we don't do like crash reports in this case.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, in this case it's different than Sentry. I'm not that familiar with Splunk, but
Splunk is more
it's more
like a log viewer. It would like
yeah.
this would be this feels a little bit more like what Splunk would be doing.
Doesn't Splunk also uses the tracing crate?
Mm, I mean, I think there's in all of those there's multiple ways you can set it up. I mean, in theory, I think you could use Sentry as like a logger. Um, so there's I mean there's a whole bunch of those like log like open telemetry is the newer standard I think that's coming down the line. There's a whole bunch of those like options, and I think they're all kind of like dependent on how well or how you get up to the thing that you're observing. Um, but at the core of it, each one of those is just like seeing an event or seeing a log. The value add that tracing does is that you have basically like a start and end, and you can capture things in between that. Um, so it's a like a tree in some ways more than a just a list of logs. Like that's probably the biggest difference. But I think in most of these, like most of what you would use this waterfall for is like you were saying, where if you were wondering why something's taking long, you want to understand, what events or what functions are taking that time. Is that's probably the biggest use case here? Is that what you're imagining?
Yeah, so the waterfall is more of visual aid for the time values that you have over there.
Okay.
So the elapsed time, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and and it also gives you an idea if you have change processes, so you can see when if one is depending on the other and so on. So as you can see there
Mm.
on the right hand side, you have the blur event. So you have the global event, and then you have the time it takes for a meeting and the time it took to serialize the event.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it does breaks down all the processes related to that specific action.
Okay.
Um, in this case, because this is like kind of a blank template or so, and the example app also was not like a real case, it's kind of hard to visualize
Mm-hmm.
how useful the waterfall can be. Which is what I was talking to you. Like I'd love to get somebody that has like a production or like a real world app and plug it in, and then we can see it working.
I
Um,
I have a thought we might might be able to spin up and try right now. There is the streaming example. That might be a decent
Mm,
example to look at. That's actually streaming a file or like a video file from the Rust side to the front end. That might actually give us some interesting things to look at in the waterfall.
I saw that Amir was the last one committing to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We could maybe give it a try. I've actually gone through that on stream, so I'm pretty familiar with that. Um, okay, so the if we wanted to like how do we make events show up in the console? Maybe that's a first place to start before we jump into a different code base and wiring that up. We're
Mm,
getting tau events. How might I see
yeah.
events that I generate?
So let me get my code up. 1 second.
Because this is from the tau event loop runner.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get Tauri events, right? So this would be the actual like Rust functions.
Yeah.
Come up.
Wait a second. So
Sometimes we have a guest visitor on stream.
what happened?
I've got two cats, and sometimes they like to get involved. Right now, she's just licking my green screen.
Ah, nice.
Hey,
Uh,
Kitty, Josh, nice.
oh yeah, Josh cannot see cats.
Cat tax, please. You can't see cats, like you don't
No,
like cats.
he's addicted to cats.
Oh,
Like
okay, in that way.
he
I
actually goes out in the street with cat food in his pockets because he needs to feed every cat he sees.
we can do it then. Want to say hi? No, nothing. We're being shy today. Nothing. That one's name is Bamboo because she looks like a panda. All
Her
right.
name is Bamboo.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was actually we got her from a shelter, and um that's the name they gave her. All right, cat tax has been checked. Check that box off. Um,
Okay.
yes, events or the console logs.
And the event that we fired didn't show up, right? Um, which
Yeah.
is actually why I'm a little bit concerned about my setup.
So if we do that, we get it in the console. I'm seeing the events for like blurring, redraw events. And we did get in the calls, we got the command. So the command came through. You can see nice response. And we get the whole waterfall from that. So here's our top level command. That is basically that's the start and end. So this whole process took 0.81 milliseconds. Then we can see it goes to the IPC, command handler, global event, and the event emitting portion of it too.
Ah, okay. So So that's why it was not working. I think the debugger that on the demo, the one
Mm-hmm.
that I used, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's using the print line, and it should be using the log info.
Got it. So the 950, right? Uh, you said there's a log info.
Yeah, should be using log double colon info. Yeah.
Info.
You, yeah, it should be this. No, I think you need the bank. Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah. Log's not there?
Um, no. Is that coming from is that the Tauri log module? No.
Yeah. Should be no, should be. I'm so confused. It should be part of the standout library, shouldn't it?
Um, maybe. Not helping me import it either. Let's go look at the docs.rs slash. I think it'll be under Tauri. Or go add log. Is it actually? Oh, that's not what I was expecting. What? um, is that actually the login crate?
Yeah. Should be.
Okay,
If
so
it's
so
not in the standard library, it should be in the login crate
okay, so
because that's the one we are hooking up. Cargo add log. Yeah, Gabe just told us. So this is something I need to add to. Um, I need to add to my template as well.
the Rust analyzer do its thing. Okay, so the now that it's actually wired up with that, we can use the logger, and that ends up we would see those logs when we're in dev through the dev tools, but then we would actually see those. We could potentially see those in like a production release too, right? Oh, we got to do so log info is just a string. Oh, target.
So I just interrupted Lucas in a meeting, and um, and he said we could also use the tracing crate, log
Ah,
as Gabe said, or the tracing crate.
okay. Well, we installed logs, so let's give that a shot real quick.
Yeah. So
And what is
what we use under the hood are the logs and tracings from the tracing, the logs and spans from the tracing crate.
okay? The logs and spans from the tracing crate. Okay. So if we would do something like, let's see if I remember the syntax. Is that it?
Which and that tracing crate is what I, unless I'm confusing Splunk with something else, that's what I thought Splunk was using as well.
I think I'm doing that syntax wrong. Invalid format string.
I think so. The payload shouldn't.
Let's just start with that. What's in the event?
Shouldn't you pass a toString to that thing? Um,
Yeah, yeah. So
like
it's like a string template thing too. You can do right. So like this, but I don't know what is an event payload. Okay, that's a specta. Type ID. Serialize.
no, I think it's the same as where is it? I just opened my code here. I think it's the toString like you have on line 7 for the demo event. Isn't it the same thing?
Line 7. Yep. Yeah. But the event payload is more than just is that actually just a string?
The payload is just a string. Yeah.
Okay.
In that case, the payload is a string.
So why is it complaining? Format strings you may be able to use. Oh, that's what I forgot to
Yeah.
do. Trait standard format display is not implemented for demo event. Right. What up? Now we're talkative. Kitty tax.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So the
So mine, I didn't need to add the log info crate, and mine is working. Like
where are you getting log from? Where is that being imported
the
from?
function greet, I'm adding it to the yeah. So on line between line 6 and 7, I created a new line,
Uh huh.
and then you can type log 2 colons and info with a bang, and then you can just use a template string.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. So just
it's interesting that I like. Why did I need to add the log crate? Oh,
you, I think you used outside of the scope. I guess
yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
different log.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no. You need that. You need to have the log there. I didn't have to add the module to the namespace. That's right. Yeah, that's okay. On the lib rs, then that's okay. Um, yeah. So now
oh,
you can
but
just fill up the.
you still had to you still had to add that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought you were saying you didn't. I was like, how is that coming in then? Okay. Yeah, and this is what I did
Yeah.
here. Whoop. I just saved it. It's gonna rebuild again. Okay. All right. So I did log info bang, and then stringified version of the event payload. Um, is it still coming up? Yep, still coming up. Reload. There we go. Hey.
So you got it. Okay.
Yep. So it's logged demo event hello from Rust. So this would be can we do emit into to owned
What are you
try
doing?
into. I think it's just a string, right?
Yeah. In this case, the payload is just a string.
Oh, except yeah, okay. So the error that we are getting before is that demo event doesn't have the display trait added to it. Yeah. Okay. So this ends up giving us um, this bit because it's doing like the debug log basically for it because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a way to serialize it into a string just automatically. Okay. So now anytime we do can you still and we're getting every time we call the log info um, we're logging the event payload which is coming from here. So we're not actually getting the thing that we've input that's being formatted here and returned, where instead, like this is a side effect. Is that what's happening effectively?
Yeah.
So you type it in, it fires off a separate event, and the thing that we're seeing here is that separate event. Okay,
Yes.
neat. So then, pretty much anywhere that you are logging in Rust, you look here, and you'd be able to see your logs coming up. And if you are in the front end, we would be able to open up our DevTools there. And between these two, we're going to see all of our events effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you said this works with both the log crate and the tracing crate, right?
Yeah.
How is that differentiated from the information that lands in this calls tab? Because this is sort of like tracing as well, right?
Yeah, so that is tracing. So the tracing crate does logs and spans. In this case, the calls tab is tracing only the spans.
Got it. Okay, so that's differentiation. Makes sense. Okay. Um, did you want to try that streaming example with this calls? Otherwise, if you have something else we can look into, that might give us
We can
a
have a look at the
deeper tree.
streaming example, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
If you
let's.
have time, we can.
Yeah, we can. I think we can get it done in 15 minutes here or so. Um. Oh my. And this. And this will be V2. We're on the dev branch, which will be V2. So we need to do the setup for V2. Let's hide some of this stuff. And just a quick high level on this streaming example. Um, it's implemented in two ways, and it uses the features to determine which. So back to the debug assertions and um, the compile doing like a tree shaking type thing for the JavaScript folk. This is set up to use the feature. So if you've defined or if you build it with the specific feature involved, it's going to use this code path. And if you build it with this feature, it's going to use this code path. So it's implemented in two ways, and depending on how you run it, with which feature turned on, you'll get these two separate code paths. Um, and we have a video URL, and it is doing a curl to download it. And based off of we've registered a custom URI scheme protocol, which is Stream, and that is sort of like part of that IPC, um, the message passing between the front end and the back end. And you can either use the built-in asset module to and the asset URI scheme to handle that, or you can implement your own custom URI scheme to do effectively whatever. And it's kind of like setting up your own like subdomain that is specific to your use case. So in this case, they're doing rather than delivering the file, it's actually streaming the file for the custom. So I'm hoping that this will end up giving us a whole bunch of nice looking waterfall, because this is doing a whole bunch of like writing buffer, stepping through the whole file. So if we look at the, let's try the ASP one first. I'm hoping that one, or I'm expecting that one to be less involved. And I gotta remember how to run it. So cargo run example streaming. Oh, actually, first we need to add the DevTools to it. Guess we probably add it directly. So it's do you know all the commands and setup offhand?
Yeah, so you need to add the Tauri plugin. So we can. I don't think it's gonna work with the Tauri add shortcut.
Okay.
I'd hope it would though.
I mean, we only
But
have to add it to a couple places, and I can copy code from
yeah, so you
your
can cargo add Tauri plugin DevTools.
Tauri plugin DevTools. Not German, which okay. Um,
No.
we
You're in a monorepo. Yeah.
yep. um, can we just add it to the root? Do we have dependencies in the root? No, not really. Um, Tauri plugin. And we've got core. Okay, we are going to what are those examples underneath? Oh, they're just at the root. And we've defined the examples here. Examples workspace. So I think if we just do dependencies, it'll work. Tauri
You could
plugin.
manually add it to the cargo tomo of the example, right? Is that what
it
that?
doesn't have one. That's the other awkward piece of that.
Oh, ooh,
Yep.
okay.
Um. Yeah, sure. You can help me out. Version. Sure. Actually, will start give us the latest?
Mm, you're on 2.0, right?
This should be
Right now
2.0.
you're.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in our case you should have 2.0 or C as well. Um,
Let's give that a shot. So then here we need this bit, right? And this.
you need first yeah, exactly.
Um,
So you need line 18, and you can just add the 27 to the builder.
got it.
You can just put if you're not shipping to production right now, you don't need to add the conditionals.
Okay, so put it right here. Then the other bit we need is the um, oh, just the dot plugin part of it. I don't know that the order is gonna matter, but I think I'm gonna put it here. We'll see what happens. Rust analyzer is not happy, but let's give it a run and see what happens. So we want a nice drop. Hey John, yeah, it's been a while, John. Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, we actually did that on stream. All the bits of that we did on stream. We did all the models I did in Blender on stream, and that's a React 3 fiber scene.
Oh,
All of
nice.
that is set up is a WebGL scene. Come on up. Now we've you've summoned the beast, Josh. Now she really wants to be involved. Okay, so I said we were going to do this is the features bit. So there's protocol asset, or there's it looks like the default is the default is without it. So I want to try the asset one first. She smells blood in the water. She is she knows her routines, that's for sure. She's gonna try to bite my cord here. Okay. Oop. Examples. Stream. I see you trying to bite those cords. Okay. Failed to parse manifest. Example stream. Okay. So what I did was not loud. That's fine. Now, where do we add it? I mean, we really just need it in workspace somewhere. Like, don't do this at home, kids. Yeah, that'll work. So the high level, if you're not super familiar with Rust, in the same vein of JavaScript, they support monorepos. So this root cargo.toml is the monorepo version, and you're not supposed to handle dependencies there. At least I don't think they really allow it. But you can define like your examples and define your members. Oh, these are excludes. Sorry. You can define the like members in the same way you would do is it the workspace key? And it's been a while since I set up a monorepo.
You mean in JavaScript? Yeah, we
Yeah, in
call them
JavaScript there's
workspaces.
is it workspaces?
Yeah.
So pretty much the same. You got like a workspace key, and then you set the members for it. And then anything like within there, if you build from the root or any builds, it encapsulates all of that. So like this exclude is actually specifically saying that we don't want that example part of the monorepo. So if we would look at like the API example, I think that would actually have its own it has its own cargo.toml, and it's not actually part of the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
So then the dependencies for this one to get it to actually use the stuff within this repo, it sets the paths. But in this case, we're defining, or we want to add a dependency to one that is not excluded as part of the monorepo, or part of the workspace, use their terminology. So I just did the hacky thing and added it to the core utils, so it'll show up like in the tree of dependencies somewhere. I hoped that would work, but maybe it won't. Use of undeclared crate. So it's definitely there. But we need to declare it. Is don't compiler's not helping us out here.
What if you just copy it outside and add a cargo toml?
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I guess the other thing too we can do is remove it from the workspace, and that's going to have a similar effect. So that would be examples streaming. And then we'll do the same thing as the API. Oh my goodness. They don't have the source Tauri set up either. Do not compile. So like if we did that, then the I don't remember how it reacts to having the or not having the source Tauri directory. Don't think it works without it. I think it's only working this way because of it being in the workspace. Can Can we? I mean, it's part of it. It's actually part of the workspace. What we just do cargo.toml and do dependencies here. Oh, no, I got the wrong thing. And I removed it from here already. So we do a cargo add Tauri plugin DevTools. Virtual manifest. Package. Streaming example. Whoop. Sure. Okay, so this is all failed to parse manifest. Still. No target specified in manifest. We're getting there. This is all the considering workspace versus not type stuff. Do I need a lib section? Target features. Where's like Tauri core have? Links, exclude, addition, license. And that defines the examples. Oh. Hey, that's defining the examples. Maybe I can just actually add it here. DevTools, Tauri runtime DevTools. DevTools. Is it? Tauri.
Plugin DevTools.
Yeah, I would say that's different, right? Ah, yeah, I think that's different. Let's actually save that for right now. And I think I can actually edit here. Path required. And this is features, build, tab, target, dependencies. Sure. Tauri, plugin, DevTools. That looks better. Rust analyze it. Oops. Doesn't seem to be complaining now. Okay. I think we got the workspace stuff figured out. And I believe that's a version issue. Do you know what the version of Tauri plugin DevTools is?
It's
So
2RC, I think.
2RC. I'm guessing that's the issue. So it says that it plug. Oh wait, is it that's snake case?
Which
Do I need?
version of Tauri are you?
So this should be. I mean, this is like in the main Tauri. So as seems to be the thing that always happens on streams, I do the hacky thing. We're doing it in the main Tauri repo, so it's like literally on the latest.
Okay.
And like if we go to creates and Tauri plugin DevTools. Sometimes the like pre-release stuff doesn't come up very well, depending on versions. Yeah. So I think what we were getting was actually this one. I think we were getting the 1.0. And if we
No, but
look,
if you put on the, you just put the version 2.0 or C, right?
yep, yep. So I think if we run it again,
Ah, okay, yeah.
then I think it'll work. Fingers crossed. Okay, so we have some failed to select a version for Tauri, which could not resolve this conflict. And then, so the dev tools.
No, but it's
Seem,
right. It's yeah. So it's asking for the 2.0.0 or C.0. Sorry, we
versions
just
that
put
meet
our
that
C.
requirements. Oh, I was expecting it to just do the 0 for us. So in the like in the same way, like here the tracing one is just like it's specifying the minor. Okay. Doesn't seem like versions that meet this requirements. This. Yeah. Oh, I see what that's saying. We've specified this. The only version we can get is this. And it's saying that the Tauri package links to the native library Tauri, but it conflicts because that is using that version.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
So you're on a beta 12.
I pulled, right? Did I not actually pull? I could have sworn I pulled. Yeah, get pull. Oh, error. Ah, oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Um. Right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do fetch. We'll do another pull. I was not reading as I was going. Yeah. Okay. VS Code's stop doing stuff for me. You're not being helpful at the moment. Reset. Pull. VS Code started making files right away. And I'm assuming that they're get ignored, but only in they're only get ignored in if you have a Mac. I'm guessing is what happened. So if once we open it, Rust Analyzer starts going, and then we get changed files. So that when I did a git pull, it failed because there was artifacts still sticking around. Okay. So now we're in Tauri. You know that mention before of oh yeah, we can get this done in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're in the main Tauri. We're in RC1. We should be able to do Tauri.
Famous last words, right?
Yeah, right. Famous last words. DevTools, and we should be able to do. I think two will work. And we're going to go to examples, streaming example, and let us do protocol asset. Package of restart. Only one pack. Hmm. I mean, we could try some patching stuff. We might just need to. Maybe this is going to be more of a lost cause than I was expecting it to be. So the Tauri plugin DevTools depends on Tauri. We're at this version, but it is saying, well, you've got it locally already. You're adding it. Like there's a cyclical thing going on. I think is part of the issue. What if I go back to my? We'll give this a shot because like others, we could in theory we can pull it out, but um, things just get funky. Partly because we'd have to like potentially fix the folder structure and such. All right, we're gonna no target specified. Uh, oh, what is that? Target? And main.targets. I think that's enough. Might have to look that up. No target specified in the manifest. Either either lib section or bin. Yeah. Mm. I just want you to run. Don't actually need you to. Okay. Why did lib not work then? No target specified in the manifest. Either need a lib section or oh. Target equals no. Okay. Let us go to cargo book. If this doesn't work, then we're calling it. Is there anything else that we should try to look at, presuming this does or does not work?
So I think you need on your lib you need the name and the crate type, right?
Yeah. It's saying
So
we're not specifying a target. Um, I guess this is it is an example. Maybe I can't actually add a cargo.toml for the example,
I don't.
or excuse me, add a cargo.toml for an example. I think that might be part of my failed assumption here. So like you're thinking you do something like that.
I don't think you need the path. I think you just need the crate type.
Great type. Ah,
Yeah.
can't find library. Ah. Um,
So in
hey
Hi
Chris,
Chris.
good to see you. We're doing as
So what
on brand. We're doing atrocities. um,
correct me if I'm wrong, but you couldn't you cannot call the lib rs main, right?
um,
I think that's the one name you cannot have.
I mean, it could be. I'm wondering too if
Or it's just a mobile thing. I'm not sure. So what I have on my template for the lib for the crate type is not that. I have static lib, rlib, and cdy lib. It's
yeah.
in
So it looks something like this.
Yes, and
Yeah,
I think that, yeah, I think with that you don't need to specify the target.
we can try. I think part of it too is I'm sort of like trying to change an example. Um,
And then the name needs to be the name of the pub function in that file. So you could name the file librs and then you don't need to do that. Yeah, exactly.
so if I do, oh, like make this a lib,
Yeah. Because, oh, wait,
but then we
why
need
do
a
you have a
main.
main rs in Tauri 2?
Yeah, like this is the whole. So it's not actually like a full Tauri app structure because it's marked as an example of part of main Tauri crate. So we've got under examples here. Um,
Uh-huh.
so it's like a it's not easy to pull out either. That's the problem with it is because it's not truly a like Tauri app in that folder. It's it's like dependent on the that stuff within. Mm. So it's like part of the workspace and part of the main Tauri repo. So I don't know that I don't know that we'll be able to get it done. Do it unless we do something with. Does examples have the ability to add dependencies? I don't think so. So the Chris, the software atrocities. We have an example. We're trying to add a dependency, which also is dependent on the thing that is defining the example. Hence the atrocities. Um, and I was thinking we could hack it together real quick, but it seems that I am wrong about that. Circular dependency patching, exactly. Um, and I don't know a good or a quick way to fix that.
And at this point, I'm just in for the ride, honestly
So it's just like shaking his head over there, and laughing at the cat occasionally. Um, I don't. When you specify it, can you specify it patching it? So if you do version equals, is there like a features path optional? What if I literally no? Well, the path would be to the actual thing. So like that you would use a path
The path is if you
dependency
have
if
a
you have it
local
local.
dependency, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can do a patch as part of this, right?
Well, why would you do a patch?
So the Tauri plugin DevTools depends on Tauri, and we're adding this dependency to Tauri. So we get the circular dependency because this Tauri has a
Uh-huh.
dependency which is
Yeah.
depending on itself.
Okay.
Um, so I'm pretty sure there's some way you can like patch it to have it resolve to itself. But I am either wrong or I don't remember how to do it offhand. So we might have to you know what? You know what? I got an idea. We copy this out into your example real quick. Because this is literally just a cargo dot, or excuse me, it's just a main.rs. Pretty much all the code's there.
Well, yeah, if you put that main.rs in the librs,
I think so. And then grab
sure,
the
right?
index.html. That might be enough. Let's give that a shot real quick. And then fingers crossed that works. And can get some value out of my tinkering for the past 20 minutes. All right, public. Is there a you're more on the solid front than I am, much more so. So there like an
So,
index.html or someplace we could drop this script?
oh yeah, so in that case, um, the thing is, this one is actually a full stack app. So,
Because this is the thing
let
that's doing the invoke.
yeah, so we are rendering that on the backend. Where I lost you. Oh, yeah, there you go. So, what do you need to do you need to put that HTML into a you can do that
I guess can we just take it like directly in your app?
you can go to the entry server, entry-server.tsx,
Okay.
and there you can add the script below the scripts over there. Should work in a very hacky way. Or you can even
That's
add inside the
probably
div.
fine. Because like all
Yeah.
all we really like it just runs when it starts, so that's
Yep.
probably gonna be sufficient. And we've um this like we basically just want this as text then, right? Can you do like
The
this?
thing is that code's gonna run on the yeah. So yeah, you can pass as a template string. So just put a curly braces. Um,
Got it. Yep. Okay. Oop,
yeah, and then yeah.
like that. Yep. Okay. Um, that's probably fine, right? That's just TypeScript errors. And do we have globals turned on? With global, so make that true. And um, we might need the styles, but I guess we'll find out. And then in our librs, we can copy over some bits that we care about. There's this custom streaming function. Get stream response. I'm not going to bother with the asset one. The streaming one's going to be more interesting. But we can actually hook this up to Specti. So we have a command, video URI, and if we add this Specta on there, is that it that we need to do? Basically just drop in or it's a command and then we just define, or we do the Specta right above it, right? And then I think we just need this. Invoke handler, register. All right. And pnmp run Tauri dev. Just bring all the stuff in. HTTP. How are they defining that then? Um, I mean, HTTP is under the dependencies, so I feel like it. I don't feel like that's right. That red. I don't think the red squiggly is correct, but okay. So, we ran. It is. I'm waiting for dev server. Do we have an error somewhere in our dev server? We potentially have a bunch of errors. Did it not start up?
It's weird that it's weird that you have the front end server running, but it's still listening. Ah, it's listening to the wrong place. Did you?
Ah, ah. I saw something come up.
Yeah,
um,
but what happened? Why is it wait? Why is listening on 1420? Did you change something in the Tauri config, or
um,
do you have? Ah, there you go. So it should be 3000.
do I have something else? What? Hmm. Because I don't think I changed that. Yeah, like that.
It's weird, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's weird. That is weird.
I don't saw you.
We might have to pull this out too to get the other bits not to run, but yeah, okay. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to
Going
deal
on?
with all the Rust errors, but um, it. I'm surprised that I would have expected like the HTTP is listed as a dependency. I didn't. We would need to add it, but let's just go for it. And I think I'm going to turn off the scripts in the app, so we just get our like root script to run. And there we go. We're getting some of that stuff resolved. Oh, we need to get random percent encoding. Yeah, this was the like pulling it out. I was hoping I didn't need to do this, but um, yeah, let's grab those. And I think that's going to resolve the last of theirs. Oh, HTTP range. Shoot. That's probably going to give us an error. HTTP range. Okay. Oh, that was a that was definitely a digression. Hopefully this works though.
It's gonna be extremely frustrating if the tracing crate doesn't pick up on the video stuff, on the streaming stuff.
So I we should get some events. I guess we'll. So it is a custom event. So that's another thing that we'll find out. Um,
It should work with custom events,
it should.
unless
Okay.
I saw it working.
It's there. Did you? Okay. Maybe it didn't actually compile. I was still getting there that this HTTP range wasn't included. Use of undeclared creator module. HTTP range. Is it because it's marked as optional? It's maybe better. If it's optional, it needs to be enabled. Ah, okay, okay. Thanks, Chris. Hey, hey. Okay,
Haha, we're in business.
we got video. And we'll do a refresh here. Okay, well, I'll just refresh the whole thing. Clear. All right. So it says it's connected.
Yeah, it
Focus.
is because I can see the focus, the blur. Awesome.
Okay, so I just did a refresh. I have no idea if this video thing is actually going to work or not, but
Oh, there's the video URL command I saw firing.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, video not found. Not gonna work.
Ah, okay. I mean, like, that's. I am getting no indication here that stuff is going wrong. Oh, okay. Here, bad request. Command video URI not found. Okay. So we would have seen some of it just have just so happens to be in the web view. Um, uh, this is the UI for DevTools. So DevTools is this. Oh,
Oh, Lucas is in the chat.
hey Lucas, we're doing atrocities. Welcome.
So
This
yeah, so
yeah, go for it. Do your thing.
now
I'll work
that
on this.
Lucas is in the chat, I'm comfortable saying that. So the CrabNebula DevTools uses the tracing crate, yes, and it's supposed to be a little bit more than just logging the traces in the spans. So we have the console tab that gets all your logs. We have the calls tab that takes all the spans from the tracing crate, and we have the sources to help you check out the resources, and the Tauri tab is to check the Tauri config and according to the schema. So it's supposed to be a instrumentation and profiling companion for your Tauri app. Um, yeah, so basically takes a lot of inspiration from the browser dev tools like Chrome or Safari or Firefox. And the idea is to have a few extra integrations, Chris. Like we also have the CrabNebula Cloud that's supposed to help you uh, do out do the auto updates and to ship the app. In the future, it's gonna allow you to have some collaboration features to connect multiple people in your team and debug them together, or being able to deploy it from the dev tools and so on. So what Jacob's using is the free version of the DevTools, which is a web app. And we also have the premium version, which is a Tauri app or a Tauri plugin that can be used embedded as a secondary web view to your app. And I think I covered the entire definition of what DevTools is. So Jacob said I cannot put URLs, so let's see if I can dodge it by doing like this.
Yeah, so you
Uh,
can DM it to
if
me too.
automod doesn't block me. Yeah,
Yeah, that
I
works.
did
Yep.
the old Twitter style.
So we're getting. Wait, I still see this occasionally. Um, and yeah, it's, as far as like feedback goes, it would be nice to just like hide some of the move events. But we are seeing the video URI command coming through, and it is still saying
And I
URI not
see you
found.
also have that you have that rogue the rogue span again
Yep. Mm-hmm.
that never ends.
So if I clear that and then do a refresh of this, yeah, we're not getting it. Well, I haven't moved, so Yes, thanks, Chris. So we're getting the call handle and still not getting the video URI. Now found I must have missed something in my copying and pasting. So I know part of what I
I
missed was
mean,
this. So we got a video file. Video file like this. Is there? Oh, do we need to do anything with wiring this up
oh
to
yeah,
Specta?
you need to put in the invoke handler, right?
Um,
Because you're
because it's
calling it from the front end.
yeah, it's not going to be a and I'm calling it off the invoke directly, so Specta is not going to work there unless
Okay,
I change
so
that. So we need to do the um,
yeah, so not there. So in the Specta builder, um, above, like if you look where I put the greet one,
uh-huh.
so it's a few lines above.
Oh yeah, that'll work.
Wait,
We
wait,
sh-
wait, not so fast. No, no.
we still need this though, right? Because I took that
Yeah, we
off.
do, we do, we do.
Okay.
And then on when I declare the Specta builder, you're going too fast. I cannot see.
Sorry.
Uh, a little bit up.
Here.
There you go. So yeah, line 69. Yeah.
I don't even remember what it's called. Video URI. Okay. All right. So now we'll get Tauri Specta generating like the client for us. The bindings will update. You should see that command in there. We are
Yeah.
still just doing the invoke on the front end. In theory, that should still work.
So it should be in the bindings now. So your commands, yeah.
I might need to rerun.
I don't know how. Yeah, that's a second problem. I don't know how it's gonna play. So maybe you just need to copy that video URI because you're not calling from. Okay, it worked.
The reason that I think it's working is because we have done the hacky thing and literally dropped the
Yeah.
script in here, and it's using
So
invoke
that's what
directly.
I wasn't sure if it was gonna work because you're actually not using Specta
Yep.
in this case.
So
But
the only thing that Specta is doing it for us is the
yeah,
where is it?
kudos
It's
to
adding
Oscar
into the
because
invoke handlers
he
for
didn't
us.
broke the original API. Yeah.
All right. So if we go and we do a refresh, and I'm going to refresh this. We get the command going through,
Yeah.
and we get a bunch of handles. Oh,
But if the
so we get the initial like command firing off, and then like the command is just done.
yeah, but isn't the like
The video
what's
is
the
still playing. Yeah.
implementation on this? Isn't the streaming going through the front end?
The
Because it's not streaming from Rust. It's streaming from a GET request.
so when we call that custom
I know.
invoke,
Yeah.
we're doing this. So the HTTP crate is
Okay, so Rust is the
responding.
one doing the request. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's calling this get stream response, which is here, get stream response. And it is I don't know if it's caching it or not. So it does like a file open.
Yeah, but it's still I would expect it to show in the span
Show
waterfalls
some
because
of this in there.
basically you
Yeah.
have a running process there.
Mm-hmm. Do we get any logs in where's my browser here? Okay, so we don't see anything there. Ah, there is the test video. Did it? Yeah, so like if I delete this, is it gonna then re-download it?
Okay, so Lucas is saying it's not gonna show protocol calls. So, but
Okay. The span waterfall shows the commands, not the protocol calls. That makes sense.
yeah, I
So the
understood that the streaming was a command response though.
so we're seeing the command. Oh, not that one. So what we see is this. So we're seeing this event fire.
Your head's covering it. What you're showing.
We're seeing that. Yeah, the video URI is a command. The actual video. I need to like readjust this
Ah,
so I'm
the
seeing
actual
that.
video is a stream URL. Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay.
this is what we're seeing here. So when we look here, this happening, command run is this basically running. And
Yeah.
then so what Lucas is saying is that this is a custom URI scheme protocol, and that doesn't show in this. But if we did something like, and we've
So
got
that's exactly where Lucas told us to look at it.
the
Exactly where you put your mouse on, like the right custom protocol.
in here, I gotta catch up. My 3D command not working, John? I feel like every time we try it, it doesn't work unless I missed it. um, okay, so the video URI is a command. The actual video is a stream URL.
Yeah, so when you went to
Okay,
the console tab, we could see a bunch of.
that works. um, the console in here.
No, no, not this one. The console tab in the DevTools.
Oh, I think that's just the blur back and forth,
Ah, yeah.
or the
No.
yeah the focus on the blur redrawing it. Um, but like I mean, this is a function, so like we could put logs in here.
Mm.
Um,
Yep.
so like we could do the same thing where we do something like this, and like what would be here path. We'll log out the path. So now that when that rebuilds, that would show up here. So we can still get some of that. So I guess then the biggest um, like most of what we're gonna end up seeing here is we get some of the custom protocols and the events and then the commands. Um, and like being able to see that waterfall embedded in this is nice. I mean, in some ways, this is like we did the real edge case, right?
Yeah.
um, which is, I mean, it's fine. Like you're going to continue to develop this. I would never expect this to be um, hit on everything until we try out the edge cases. So you do see the custom protocols, but it doesn't show the request response data. That could be nice to do. Okay, yeah, you only see the URL. So is the if we look at that, oh, we should get this. Yeah, so we're getting that log now. We can see it's coming from. I turn this off because I hear the sound. If we look at if we expand the attributes, we can see where it's logged out, in what file it is. It's coming from like our lib through that RAI custom handle protocol, which is this is that custom protocol that is being fired. So within the scope of this piece, we are seeing that log. And then in the calls, so Lucas was saying you see the custom protocol calls, but it doesn't show the request response data.
Yep.
So where
There
I
you go.
I think it's these, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a little bit of a disconnect in the way that the span ends up handling this like extremely edge case effectively. um, I haven't heard of anybody doing this other than like this specific use case. So for anybody watching, to be completely fair, this is like software atrocities. um, so if you do end up using this and you do need to debug something like this and you're not seeing those bands tied together, um, logs are probably going to be your option there then, I guess. But I mean, we are still seeing all of those protocol handles, so we do get some indication of uh, this waterfall in this graph. So like we can scale this up, right?
Yeah.
And that okay, so that's affecting this. Is
Yeah, that's just a visualization hack. So
okay.
if you have some long running
Hmm. Got
waterfalls
it.
or something like
How
that.
do they develop over time?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Um. So the waterfall in this main section is this. This is actually the. This is scaled as far as time goes too, right? So if we know that
Yep.
the command was fired off here, we can see that it ended here. We don't have a super clear indication of maybe somewhere like here. But we can kind of see that like 25 to 46 seconds was this thing happening. And if we play it again, you can see this is all of these RAI custom protocol handles is, I think it's basically the chunks coming through. So each one of these is it handling um, like this event coming through.
Yeah. So the visualization aspect of this tab is was very very tricky. It was something that
Mm-hmm.
took us a while to handle, and I really want to see more people using it before I say we nailed it,
Yeah.
because like we investigated either showing it as this, like copying the network tab on DevTools,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to do something more closer to a flame graph, like the profile tab or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as I said, we have more spans data that is actually feasible to show on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So we are actually trying to collect some feedback on how people intend to use this, or how people would like to use this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically that. So and
And
then we can do a revisit on the UI, I would say.
mm-hmm. And the where is it? Um,
Yeah, so you need to click on record
oh,
in this
yep,
case. Yeah,
I missed that.
and then it records for a while, and then you can have the flame graphs and
So
stuff.
like this is for anybody that
Yeah.
hasn't used this before. This is kind of what he's talking about, where you can see
So
all the
this
different
is
paints and renders and stuff. That's
Yeah, so in that graph you can see the actual waterfalls happening. You can see when a process ends and a follow-up process starts and so on. So there you have a clear idea of when of the dependencies between the processes. While
mm-hmm.
in the list, we are kind of forced to show in a chronological way. So if between a chain of processes that are connected comes another one that's concurrent and is happening in parallel, but the way it shows in the list, it shows in between them, you kind of lose the connection, the visual connection between them.
Yeah,
um,
and then the so like in this case, if those pieces would be more tightly coupled, like the command actually
yeah.
running and the protocol handling it, like basically this would just end up being longer because
Yeah.
it's acting over a period of time. Um,
Yeah.
I
So
think
we
like
try to give that with the waterfall graph,
mm-hmm,
but because there's so many events on the list, and even even in that way is kind of hard. So the waterfall graph is our approximation of what that flame graph is. But
got it.
um,
Like how so you said you're using that tracing library under the hood, right? How
yeah,
um like I almost wonder if embracing the fact that this needs to be higher level is fine because then you could within these like subsections if you have that context you might be able to render something that's a little bit more uh closer to something you'd see here.
yeah. So that is some of the work that happened in, like, we had a hackathon like 2 months ago, I think.
Okay.
Um, and Robin, Bino, the one
Mm-hmm.
from the working group, he dove right into those pans, and
It sounds
um,
right.
you know how he is, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so he really dove in, and he showed that there was a lot of room to improve
Mm-hmm.
in that case. And again, there's way more, way too much data. So we do need a way to have probably better heuristics, or allowing the user to tweak the heuristics on saying these are the kinds of events that I'm interested in for my app, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's the one thing. But like, we got this far with the dev tools by sitting and thinking the kind of stuff that we needed for the
Uh-huh.
Tauri apps that we develop. So right now, I think it's the right time for us to take a step back and see other people using it, and other people saying, "Oh, but I would need this, or I would need that,"
Mm-hmm.
and then we can prioritize better. Otherwise, um, like, you cannot build a perfect app in isolation just by assuming what
Yeah,
other people have in mind.
for certain. Yeah, and like honestly, this is even as is, this is still going to provide some value for folks. And it sounds like the direction that you're going with things, as like you've got foundation here, and it's a matter of building on top of that and massaging it now. And I think as that happens, the I think as you get closer to like I mean it doesn't like specifically need to be this, but the thing that this fulfills, like you were saying, is the like you can see these tasks happening over time and that concurrency happening, and you can see uh, like you'd use this as a way to understand like why is this thing taking longer than I'm expecting it to, and like where is it getting stuck. And as like seeing a massive list of traces and spans is not helpful, like you mentioned. Um, but as like that data gets tied together and is represented, and because like clearly in this case, like this is a lot of data. There's no way you could have a whole list of all of this, um, and that's why this form factor is useful because it sort of allows you to clue into exactly the stuff that you care about and what could be actually taking time relative to seeing a list of every one of these little compiled pieces. Um, and I can already start to see the makings of that through this. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm if I was the one doing feature requests, that would I can definitely see why Bino jumped in and started digging down this because that definitely feels like a place where I would love to see deeper integrations there. The like relative to each other and the relative to like the tree of uh, computation within a specific protocol or after you act on a certain part of the app. That I think that's where I would end up finding a lot of the value too.
So, do you think you would need to tailor the settings uh, of the filters, of the spans and the logs, depending on the app you are? Or do you think that there's perhaps we add more tracings and we allow you to filter out on the UI?
I
What would be
think
your hunch for your basic use case?
I think I would compare it to or keep in mind the I'm trying to figure out how to state this. There was a period of time where when you were developing a web app for the browser, every time you'd make a change, you'd have to reload it, right? And then
Hmm.
hot reloading came on the scene. It was like amazing. And then that started to get hooked up to state management to where um, when you made a change, it would reload and still keep that previous state too. And
Oh,
that made for a very like super tight feedback loop of I have done some actions and state has happened and I want to make changes in that like future history area. Having to like reload the whole thing and replay and get to that same context every time was painful. And I think that's kind of how I would think about it here is in some ways I would almost like to pin or otherwise like zoom in on a specific piece of the app that I want to like rerun because yeah, time travel debugging is if you squint, that's kind of I think what I would be interested in here. It's less about like
mm-hmm.
filtering and like looking at the events coming in. Is the like this console is a stream of events. That's fine to just keep enlisting stuff. But if I'm interested in the trace, I want to zoom in on specific traces or specific situations or pieces of the app and be able to make a change and somehow get to the point where I can replay or otherwise like inspect that quickly again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually one, it's probably the top feature we want to implement because
Probably the most
I
difficult
mentioned
one.
before, yeah. So, um, one feature that we wanted to have earlier actually was the collaboration feature. So, allowing you to take snapshots of your debugging session or
Mm-hmm.
sharing a debugging session with someone in your team.
Okay.
So that's also why the DevTools Premium is connected to the cloud access because that would require you require some kind of cloud for you to send your snapshots and get them.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, it would allow us, for example, to have some sort of profiling or recording session or snapshot of a state of your debugging
Mm-hmm.
session. And then you would either do it yourself and going back on time or sharing it with someone on your team and saying, oh, look, I did these specific actions and these are the logs that I got. How do I fix that? And so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's one of them.
I mean, even
Um,
even as far as like a so like that, I feel like you would need a lot of context instead of for that. But even as a next step, the like in this example, um, just mindlessly blurring and moving the thing around. I don't think about it, but I'm like spam events basically. So I moved this out of the way just so I could see something, and now I've got all these events. So even just
yeah.
have like a simple filter, so you can like once I see the event and I know the thing that I'm caring about is this RAI custom protocol handle and the command. Um, so even just like a pre-filter on that of
Mm,
the like I'm imagining that you can search here, right?
yeah.
But can you do like complex searches?
No, that's a text. Uh,
Okay,
text
yeah.
search. Yeah.
I think that would probably be the like the thing that I would start to care about is
Yeah, I think what would be nice is like seeing you using it. I want to have some kind of how can I say, mute event type. So you can,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like, if you could right click that blur event and saying, okay, mute this event, and then all blur events disappear.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, like an includes and an excludes almost. Now,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if this is just like a text search, you could do like an includes on the array kind of thing. That
yeah.
probably would be
Uh,
enough. Because like for the most part, like the things I think I would just want to ignore some events if I don't care about them at the moment.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
So my question would be though, would you rather have it? I guess you would have that on the UI, and then you can tweak as you're debugging instead of having in a in kind of a configuration way where you can define per app, like probably an extension of the Tauri config where you can say, yeah, this app I want to log this sort of events or this kind of events or so on. Almost
yeah,
like the capabilities JSON, where you say, for this particular streaming app, I want to log the payload of my stream protocol. Um, would that something be useful?
I I think at runtime is probably going to be the most useful.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris seems to say similar things where being able to query
Okay.
the structured data and such at runtime because the um, like it's hard to know what you want to zoom in on until you see,
Yeah,
and then
because
once you can see it, then I just want to act on it right away.
what I'm thinking of is right now we have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but we have quite some logic to avoid missing spans because they're quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do if we do the filtering strictly on runtime, it means that on the Rust side, like collecting the spans will be quite greedy, which means more memory consumption and so
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, and
Because
then you're in that chicken and egg if you're trying to do performance optimization. If
yeah,
you're
because
observing it and ruining performance.
the last thing you want is your memory profiling to be a
Yeah,
memory hog, right?
I mean, in some ways, I could see both being useful. The As far as that goes, like in this case, I know that I don't care about global events right now, so I could turn that off. Um, and being able to have the option to just turn it off at startup would be nice,
Mm, yeah,
particularly for that performance reason. But like in
yeah,
general, I would probably just say, well, I'm going to just keep it off until I actually run into that situation where I want to turn it on.
yeah. To be honest, it did took a lot of stress to see um,
Mm-hmm.
the Rust part missing spans, and because we built it, like Solid has a quite effective way of updating those stores, so we don't see that much issue on the even on the client side making those lists quite aggressively.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
so it's definitely something we can try. It does it, when it like our biggest issue is when we have a high traffic app where we can have some issues with like trying to the
Yeah,
word
and like
escapes me
that,
again,
like if we
when you
use
try to
this,
virtualize the list.
like if we
Yeah,
use this as an example, like you know,
that
I
would be more or less okay. I think we can have ways of rendering that effectively, but when you have too many spans with a lot of with a huge list going on running for a long time,
oh
we
like the
might need
down
to
the
virtualize aspects of the list, and then if
okay.
you start scrolling up and down a lot while your app is refreshing,
Hmm.
then you might have some lag. um,
Yeah, I think honestly the Um, and it's probably going to take some effort to understand like what is going to be root pieces. But like
Yep.
this, this is useful, and I don't need to really see the emits. And so like what you've done here feels useful. So like I think my expectation would be some like a combination of like runtime searching, but then also like if it's a rendering issue, I guess there's probably like what two performance cases where it's the observability actually affects the performance of your app. But then there's also the like how do we render all this data? So even if you can collect all of those events, rendering it becomes a question too for like usability of the dev tools. I think in the case of the rendering, the like leaning into this the waterfall and the fact that like the
Yeah.
thing that I want to either I'm either like looking at a specific type of event, so like I want to look at all the renders and just see what all the renders are doing, or I know well this piece of it I'm just kind of stuck with. I want to focus on like this piece of it right now. So how can I just
Yeah.
like filter down or otherwise like skip to this section every time and having a way to like make a
Yeah.
change and
I mean,
see this part rerun would be great.
to be honest, I do see there might be a way of us to doing that filtering, the runtime filtering, um, on the Rust side if we are doing with if we're dealing with the Tauri app versions.
Mm-hmm.
On the web version, I don't think it's possible because
I mean, you can start getting
that
into a
would
lot of data, right?
require, and that would require your app to accepting a command from an external, like from the browser essentially, which might not be quite feasible.
You mean the like? What do you mean a command from the browser?
Because filtering on the tracing collection side, we wouldn't be able to do that on the web version
Oh, I see.
because
Because you need to like
it's a
toggle it
one-way
off
trip.
in the web
Yeah,
view,
we're just
basically.
listening, we are not emitting anything.
Yeah.
So we cannot communicate the plugin to say, okay, stop sending me this particular filter or not. But on the Tauri app, we are already there, so we could potentially do it.
You've got a little bit more control into it. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and like in theory, you could inject that into the front end, but then now you're starting to get into you don't want to like stomp over somebody's front end portion of their app.
Definitely not. Yeah,
Hmm.
no. Yeah,
Cool. Well, I think that's probably going to be. I think that's it that we've gotten out of this whole debacle. uh, it was
yeah.
it was cool that we got something to show up here,
That
and
was fun, man. I'm actually gonna pick that you just did and add a new example to our case because
nice.
before leaving, Lucas just DM'd me and said, "Make sure to take all the notes the guys are saying on the chat in here because you just nerd sniped him with that protocol
yeah,
thing." So
I mean the chat should stay there. So if you need to like go back and watch the VOD and whatnot, the chat will still be there. And
yeah,
I like this feels like one of those. I mean, there's a bunch of other examples, but this feels like one of those cases where it's like all of these other and then we've done a few of these on stream too, like mess around with multi-window, multi-web view, like seeing those things start up and whatnot is kind of nice, but like processes over time, I feel like streaming is one of those like it checks a lot of those like weird edge case situations.
yeah. Which
Um,
is actually something I mentioned to you while preparing this. Is
yep,
something that I wanted to see
give me
working
curveballs,
because
and we gave you curveballs.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is good. So before we end, I just want to tell. I see John and Chris still around. Guys, if you wanna if you pick it up and play around with that, or if you have any feedback based on this stream, um, just let me know. yeah, I love to take it on board. I made tons of notes here, and yeah,
We'll drop some
essentially
links
we.
while we're.
Thanks. But what we want actually is hear from people working with Tauri and with Rust about things that would be useful. And even if you're not using the tools right now, it's just for us to have an idea about what everybody out there is, so to make sure we're not stuck in our echo chamber.
And
Um,
there's what would be the best place for people to reach out? Um, I imagine
so
issues in
we
the.
are all on the Tauri Discord, so if you're all there, um, that's a way. There's a CrabNebula channel. We have our own CrabNebula Discord,
Uh,
Twitter or LinkedIn. We're also there. In case of Chris, I'm on the Party Corgate Discord, so he can find me very easily.
yes, yes.
Um, yeah,
We've
so
both been part of that for a while.
anywhere you see me around, I'm up to talk about it. Most of the names that I drop over there, if you're on the Tauri Discord, you've heard of. Like you have Lucas, you have Jonas Krukenberg, it's also on the Tauri working group. You have Daniel. Um, so you like pretty much you have Fabian Lars, who's basically omnipresent in the Tauri Discord. If
Right.
you if you sent any message in the Tauri Discord anywhere, chances there's an 8 out of 10 chances that he was the one who replied, either him or Simon. But yeah, um, so we have them. Amer is also all the time around. So all these people are, except for Simon, are all of these are in the Crab Nebula company. So any of them, but it's actually my job to talk to anybody who's interested. So feel free to reach out anywhere you see fit.
And I
Oh, thanks
drop.
for the links, Jacob.
Yep,
Yeah.
drop some links for you. So Twitter and Twitter and Discord if you're into those social mechanisms.
Yeah.
Um,
And by the way, if any of you are in Macedonia in a month or so, I'm gonna give a workshop on Tauri.
nice.
So we're gonna play around with DevTools or play around with cloud, something we're gonna talk about tomorrow, next week. And I might be able to give a little demos or teasers about Taurify, which if you go to the CrabNebula Dev, you're gonna see it's a new product we're working on.
Is it on the
Yeah, it's crabnebula.dev/Taurify. You're gonna see a teaser.
slash Torify?
Yeah. So this is particularly for people that have a web app and want to bundle it into a native app. So it's a SDK slash CI tool that's gonna allow you to have uh, a Tauri app without actually writing any Rust or having or even setting up Tauri locally. And we can and the rebuilds are mind blowing. Like we're using this over the air plugin, which is you can like if you're just changing the front end, the rebuilds goes in seconds on CI.
Yeah, because all the rest part of it is like pre-compiled or
Yeah,
something, I'm presuming.
yeah. So Lucas is doing a lot of black magic into that. Hopefully, I can get to show you soon. Yeah,
Speaking of software atrocities.
yeah.
uh, cool, cool. And then so I guess oh, John, that thing just showed up. I don't have it on the other
Mhm.
screen. That must be my issue. Um, anyways, next week we're having Attila on again, and I know we've been saying that we want to do something with Updater, deploying your app, but like talking about that as a next or as a topic is difficult without also considering the infrastructure. So next week we will be diving into the CrabNebula cloud product, which is takes care of a lot of that for you, which is nice if you want to ship an app and not mess with figuring out how to do all the AWS or other situations.
Yeah.
It's nice like
So
plug and play, like turn on the thing and push your stuff up, then you're good to go. So
yeah, like if you when you can set up an auto updater with 5 lines
yeah.
of configuration, like that's that to me is a little game changer. That's it was incredible. Like doing the workshop. I mentioned before, I did a workshop in Budapest with mostly JavaScript developers. There was one person who had experience with Tauri, and all of them were shipping auto updates by the end of the 3 hour workshop.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was incredible. Like Daniel was in the chat, like playing support for me, and he was like amazed.
So tune in next week.
See you
Is
tomorrow.
there
See you
anything
next week.
else that you wanna say before we head out?
Thanks for finally having me. I had a blast, man, and I hope
Yeah,
we can do that more often.
it's been fun. We've been looking forward to this for since like
Yeah.
April or something. I think we started talking about it.
Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, it
uh,
was April, and then we decided to wait for premium release launch, and then I had like a
thousands of
craziest
conferences.
conference we months, and then yeah, I had some personal stuff thrown at me as well. But yeah, we're alive and we're here, and we had a tons of fun. And
Yeah.
next week's gonna be even nicer. I think I'm like cloud is that product that like I'm just bullish about it. I'm very excited. Like when I was interviewing for CrabNebula, I remember having a conversation with Daniel, and he explained to me what they wanted to do for cloud, and like, man, that's a product I can get behind.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so I'm very excited about showing you all cloud and seeing what we can do.
It'll be good. So next Tuesday,
Yeah.
to the YouTube things. I will see you in a little bit under a week. Have a great rest of the week,
See ya.
y'all. Bye.